over some things and do some welcome to 2019-2020 Governmental Affairs, and we have some special introductions I'd like to make. As always, more things change, more than remain the same. We've got some new folks, and I'd like some of the people that are in the audience kind of used to, and maybe some of our new members need to know. We've got, where's my list? We've got my right hand. As soon as the press puts that down, we'll let her stand up.
Hello, everyone. I'm Vanessa Turner.
That she is in my office at 218. The people that you work with for so long, Michelle, who's just my right arm. This is my right and left arm. Is now with Spiro, and I had a few people here to say I ought to talk Spiro out of that, but I didn't, and we miss her. But Vanessa's going to do an absolutely wonderful job. Additionally, our analyst that we've had for years is now working in the governor's office, and we're very, very blessed to have Molly Aziz.
I am. Thank you.
She will be our governmental affairs analyst, and I'm asking all the kind folks in the audience, and I've already warned her how they will, not the lobbyists, never, or the press, will try to come and get a little information and all that kind of good stuff. So we're learning phrases like "not decided yet," "will of the committee," you know, those kind of things. But I certainly want to welcome Molly as well. And then finally, Legislative Council, we have Stuart, I can't pronounce, I'm sorry, which just tells us he's not from South Georgia. But we welcome you, Stuart, so much, and he was one that we want to work with should we have any legal questions. Now, the important part is new members of the committee that we have, and some of them have a little background in elections and other things, not that we handle anything scary in that regards. But first of all, we've got Rick Williams. Welcome, Representative Williams. I think he served on the election board back home for several years. Is that right?
16 years.
Wow. Several work. Joseph Gullett, freshman. Tell us about yourself.
Joseph Gullett, also served on the election board for 2 years.
District and from?
District 19, Spalding County, represents Higher Dallas, Thunder Springs, and Hackworth.
Welcome so much to Governmental Affairs. Mary Frances Williams, welcome. Tell us about yourself, where you're from.
I'm a lifelong resident of Marietta, and I represent 40% of the city of Marietta, and then some of Northeast Cobb and West Cobb, and House District 37.
Welcome to Governmental Affairs. Truly, you know, I don't know if I could be any more blessed. We've got a new member of our leadership team, and that's the vice chair of our caucus, Micah Gravely, who is a tremendous asset. And Micah, tell us a little bit about your interest in governmental affairs.
Well, I've been through quite a few elections.
Oh, that.
Have worked with Governor Sonny Perdue, worked congressional aid, and enjoyed serving my community, House District 67, which is South Paulding County and West Douglas County.
Thank you so much. And we have a little thing that we do in the House, and so one of the things we generally try to do is, if you're a chairman, then we look at different kind of vice. What? That was perfect. Barry has been just absolutely fantastic.
I was holding my own meeting, Mr. Chairman, at 4:06.
Yeah, you need to get out of that one earlier.
Yes.
But he has been vice chair of governmental affairs for some time, and I really do lean on his legal knowledge, though I probably now will defer some to Mr. Morelli. But he is now chairman of Judiciary, and congratulations on that. So we have a new vice chair, and that is Todd Jones. And Todd, welcome, and any remarks you have?
Well, thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. I appreciate the confidence. In terms of my district, it's House District 25, South Forsyth County primarily, with a little bit of North Fulton.
All right, very good. And if you will, now check your folders, and I want to do some reminders on the rules in terms of both rule reminders and kind of rule changes, because people have a tendency, right, wrong, or different every now and then to forget, or we get caught up in the moment. So the first thing I want to do is do some reminders, and that is on the rules that you have in front of you. Number 3, this comes up all the time about the new cityhood, and does it have to, in the 2-year rule. We put this in a couple of years ago or longer, It doesn't have to be at the start of a new term, it can be at the end, but if that's the case, this is just a reminder, then we're going to ask you to refile the legislation the following year. It's really for the purpose of no one trying for the purpose of being able to make sure that someone doesn't try to amend at the very last minute. Because it is a general bill, anybody can introduce a general bill. Does that mean that we've ever heard a cityhood initiative or anything like that from an author of a bill from 150, 200 miles away? We haven't. We typically don't take kindly to that, but it is something that happens. I also ask you to look then at rule number 3, paragraph number 3, another reminder. A general rule, the committee shall not consider a bill unless it's sponsored by a member of the House or the Senate, kind of thing, but we do reserve the right to waive that at the discretion of the chair. We may remember last year we had a little situation where somebody wanted to come in and present a bill. All of a sudden they said they couldn't, and someone else was going to present it for them. I don't want to mention any names because it may be friends of yours, and in some cases even relative, but then all of a sudden the bill that we got at the very last moment was almost a pretty large change. We said we wasn't going to recognize that bill that that person had. And it put the committee in a situation where for the first time ever, I think we actually passed a bill that we were originally given without a presentation by the sponsor. Why? Because we felt we were kind of being gamed a little bit. So that's why that's there. Reminder number 3, I'm sorry, that's going to be under new ones. This is a reminder because you hear about those on the second page, paragraph 2.5 that starts with the in addition to the feasibility study. We changed 2 years ago and added that we want the proposed municipality of a new city to notify the services proposed to be supplied in writing somehow through a ballot question, a website, legal advertisement. We know that we have struggled for years because one side is promising, the example I always use, a library, but it's not defined and it's not in code. We're not asking for it to be in code. But the people have the right to know whether they expect brick and mortar or a drive-by bookmobile. So there can be no, well, I thought I was going to get recreation, and someone saying you did. You got a picnic table. So the citizens have, in the interest of transparency, somewhere in the process, a way of being able to know truly what they expect in terms of their services. Additionally, number 14 is a reminder because, again, it came up last year. We won't get into the details of that. I'm going to let the subs, more on this later, but I'm going to let the subcommittee chairman decide how they want to do that on their own. And 14 basically talks about any amendments or substitute having the courtesy of the chair having a heads up at least 2 hours prior to. Again, we had a little situation last year on a Senate bill with the renaming. Does anybody recall that, of a certain creek? And the next thing we know, we had someone come in and was going to make an amendment to the Senate bill to try to get a bill that we weren't going to take up, and I want to thank some members of both sides of the aisle who were kind enough to give me a heads up that someone was going to try to do an amendment to that, and I asked the senator, do you want your bill to pass or do you want it amended and take your chances? And he said he wanted his bill passed, and so that's what we did. But that was I think, what was that called when they said they were trying to skin a cat last year? So I appreciate the heads up. We're not going to let somebody come in at the last minute and try to make an amendment so they get their bill passed. And then finally, number 15, please be mindful, we have some sensitive issues, and the last one says the chairman reserves the right not to entertain any amendment, substitute, or motion. We've got some sensitive stuff, and there's sometimes people that frankly, right, wrong, or indifferent are sitting there going, how do I handle this? I got a split community back home, and I may turn around, and it's happened very infrequently. I think I asked this question the other day in a meeting, but we have the right to entertain any motion. So if someone says, I'd like to offer an amendment, I can sit there and say, basically, I'm sorry, you're not recognized at that time for that purpose. Now let's go to the new rules. The new rules will be on number 2, considered only after presentation. This rule may be waived at the discretion of the chair. That handles that situation that happened last year when someone brought in, said somebody else is going to present and brought in a different bill, and said, if you don't do mine, then we're going to leave, and we voted that bill out. And then some people refer to this, if you would, 1, 2, 3, 4, fourth on the list under number 3, you will see Georgia Tech. Now, a lot of people think this is the Buzz Brockway bill or rule change because he did such a great job in governmental affairs, and he did. But we're very honored to be able to add Georgia Tech to our list of institutions that we will accept a feasibility study from, and we're making sure and going through the process now that everybody's on the same page. I say that with caution to members. You may get others that ask you what I got to do about this, and they may go to an institution, they may shop, they may this, they may that. But this committee currently recognizes only 3 places: Andrew Young, Georgia Tech, and of course Carl Vincent, to be able to do the feasibility studies. And then finally, number 7, the chair and vice chair and secretary, and you should have it, and I'm going to talk about it in just a second, are ex officio members of all subcommittees, and additionally, the subcommittees now have a chairman and a vice chairman, and they are ex officio of other subcommittees that may be appointed. And with that, that's the list of the committees and subcommittees. We've gone from 3 to 2 to try to handle things in a more efficient manner. Any questions on the rules?
Mr. Chairman, may I ask a question?
Yes.
Rule number 1, the quorum requirement.
Yes, sir.
By my count, this committee has 20 members. And the quorum requirement would say that we have a quorum of 4.
Yes, sir.
Is that-
You ready to write? Okay. Next. Yes, ma'am.
What was the quorum last year?
4.
Out of the 20 or we
I'm sorry?
have we added many members?
No, ma'am. I went over every rule change.
In relation to 3, paragraph 3.
Yes, ma'am.
First and second paragraphs suggest, is this the exact same language as last year?
Yes, ma'am.
I interpret this to mean that if I introduce a new city bill this year with a particular boundary description, that I must hold to that boundary description in the second year. That's how I interpret that.
And as you may know, that is left to the discretion of the chair. I think in a situation, we've talked about this, I think you actually brought it up 2 years ago, because you had a situation in Decatur that involved a neighborhood of yours. And it wasn't one of those situations where someone was trying to change a map at the last minute in order to be able to call for a whole new feasibility study, and then we'll put the vote off 2 years. And so we sit there and we go, but if there's an error, whether it be Scribner or something else, that's an honest mistake, or someone's not in there and it doesn't really affect the feasibility study, then we need to be able to have that kind of flexibility.
But I interpret this to say that if I introduce a bill with this particular description, that it will not satisfy the 2-year rule if I change the municipal description in the second year.
I would say that that's going to be at the discretion of the committee and the chair. Because again, I'm not going to make somebody go another 2 years, because what we did is, with our good friend Gina here from legislative reapportionment, that we're going to try to maintain census blocks. And if someone goes and gets an outside mapping firm and does a, what's that great term, meets and bounds, and we change that half block, it's not a shopping center that can do that, I'm not going to sit there and make somebody go through another 2-year process. That would be fair to the citizens. But that's a good question. Yes, ma'am.
Finally, I'm just going to follow up on Mr. Trammell's question. I obviously was not paying attention. When the
You
rule...
could never say that.
When the rule was passed that only 4 constitutes a quorum, I'm going to object
Okay.
to that smaller number of 20. Given the significance of this, is that this
Well, thank you so much. Additional questions? At this time, I'll entertain a motion.
Second.
Did we have a conversation outside as vice chair? You get to make your first motion on the rules. And then I was going to praise for wow.
They caught me before I could get it.
I'll entertain a motion at this time.
Motion to pass the rules.
Got a vote? I see he's going to be a great vice chair. Y'all hear that? Looking for a second. Second, Mr. Gravely. Any further discussion?
Mr. Chairman, at the appropriate time, I would like to move to amend.
Okay. Any further discussion? Now's the appropriate time.
Mr. Chairman, I would move to amend the quorum requirement to replace 4 with 8.
replace 4 with 8.
Second?
Got a second. Any discussion on that?
I discussed.
Okay.
The reason the quorums were lower in most of the committees goes all the way back to last decade, when it was a rather close numbers between the minority and the majority. And Democrats refused to show up in committees to keep us from having a quorum. In all the committees, if you look at them, the quorum is a rather low number compared to half the So I'm gonna vote against your amendment because I've never been to a government affairs meeting where there's been less than 10 or 12 folks, and we always have good turnout. We have a standard meeting time, it does not conflict to the best of my memory with many others. But that is the historical background of why it was always that number.
I ask again for forgiveness for not paying attention to all that. There are issues of politics about who goes into a room and who doesn't come into a room on creating a quorum. I agree with that. But I just think 4 out of 20 is an awful small number for a quorum.
You voted yesterday for judiciary, which is 5 out of 21.
I wasn't paying attention.
Well, we're going to make sure everybody pays attention to this argument today.
Mr. Chairman, I'm going
Yes.
to apologize for being behind you.
Oh, that's fine.
But just in defense of the motion and with all due respect to the gentleman's point, 8 is not a majority, it was 40%. It would be impossible for a minority party to prevent a quorum of this committee.
Mr. Minority Leader, if I may, or Representative Trammell, Mr. Minority Leader, if I may ask, and I'm just learning because I haven't been paying attention a lot too, how come you never brought this quorum question up prior to today?
Well, Mr. Chairman, with all due respect, each committee, as you know, organizes its rules. I think that
But you were on this 2 years ago and didn't object to it before.
that was my error.
And it's my error too.
Is there anything else in the rules that I should know about in the future that may catch your eye in terms of errors? Sure.
Mr. Chairman, if I understand the purpose of the rule with respect to the chairman's reservation of the right not to entertain the amendment substitute motion, but so I have to mention that I read
Okay.
this one.
Okay, very good. We've got a discussion and we've got a motion. All those in favor of who makes the motion? The Minority Leader's motion, please signify by saying aye. I'm sorry.
What motion is before us?
The discussion on the quorum that he has a problem with for this year.
So we're objecting, we're voting on his objection. Is that what we're-
We're voting on it. You had offered an amendment, did you not, to 8?
Thank you, I'm sorry.
I feel like I'm eating a lawyer. I mean that in the best way. We got a motion on the table to change, an amendment to change rule number 1 to 8 by the Minority Leader. We got a second. We've done the discussion. All those in favor of the Minority Leader's amendment, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed?
No.
You gonna ask for a hand count?
I will.
Really? All in favor of defeating the Minority Leader's motion, please signify by raising their hand. I'm sorry. Well, he offered 8. Right? If you're in favor of, I'll go it the other way for him. If you're in favor of Representative Trammell's, the Minority Leader's motion, please signify by raising your hand. 1, 2, 3. Got it? All those in favor of defeating the motion, those opposed, please signify by raising your hand. Is there really any doubt?
Mr. Chairman, you offered me the opportunity.
That's because I'm bipartisan. All right. We got a motion on the rules. Any other discussion? All those in favor shall signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed?
No.
Ayes clearly have it. And at this point, we'll move to our first bill. and that's going to be our friend Jesse Chairman Peasley. Congratulations on that. And we saw this bill last year, so this should be a quick kind of in and out, a little cleanup bill.
Over right here, Chairman.
Please.
Thank you, Chairman, and members of the committee. Thank you so much for giving me this opportunity to help my constituents finish the job that Senator Watson and I set out to do last year. We had in House Bill 618 a simple Scribner's error that kept us from putting this on the ballot on November. And so here's what we have today in HB 29, the correction of the simple Scribner's error. And we have legislative counsel here today with me. Secondly, while we were correcting that Scribner's error over the course since the last session, I had a great deal, and Senator Watson had a great deal of conversation from our constituents about improving something really important to them. And that was adding a non-binding resolution in the charter for any attempt to raise the millage rate beyond the established millage rate we put in the original charter. And then finally, of course, we had to, the changes are in here to change the date of the election, which was supposed to be November, because we could not do that. It will now be in March of 2019, this March coming up. That is very simply what we've done with HB 29. Mr. Chairman?
I can't remember, 2, 3 no votes in the entire House or something like that?
One no vote, the final, we had one no vote, Representative Gerber, that was our only no vote, and this bill is a final.
Shocking. Any question? At this time, I'll entertain a motion.
And I'll second.
We got a motion to pass in a second. Any discussion?
Got a question.
Yes, Mr. Rules Chairman.
What are you going to do about a March election if the governor doesn't sign this thing before
We're going to come back and fix it again.
I've got work to do, Chairman.
Got a motion and a second. Any discussion? All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed? Motion does pass. Any other questions? Typically, we're going to make, I want to welcome, by the way, I didn't do it earlier, and I apologize, our whip of the majority party, Trey Kelly. Thank you, Representative Kelly, for being here. And typically, we're scheduled 1 o'clock, I think 4:06.
Yes.
But we'll be putting that notice out, but I think the room was taken today. So I appreciate you being here. Look forward to working with each and every one of you. We're adjourned.
Thank
If you have your updates on your information,
Thank you, Jeff. Thank you for being here, my friend. Yep.
Hey.
Hey.
Is that a dubious honor?
Secretary of State's office. What's up? So that's unfortunate because based on our conversation, the impression I got was that there's some misunderstandings of what we're trying to do. So I'd love to have the opportunity to serve.